Hi everyone, today I'll walk you through assembling an interesting folding fat bike and share a bit more about its specs and build. The star of the show is the Vakole Y20 Pro, which reached me thanks to Buy Best Gear. You'll find special discount codes for it in the description. If you buy the bike through my link, I'll receive a small commission that helps me keep the channel growing, so thanks in advance for every bit of support. Before we dive into assembly, let's take a close look at what's inside that unassuming carton, because it's worth knowing what you're dealing with. Surprisingly, there was no assembly manual in the box, which can be a real hurdle for anyone who's never put a bike like this together. The PDF on the maker's website comes from the first generation model, whose units arrive fully assembled, just folded in half. That guide only describes lifting the bike out of the box and screwing on the pedals. In reality, the task list is longer today, though far from scary. I always start by checking every part in the kit, making sure it's complete, functional, and well made. That's how I immediately spotted the sturdy handlebar bag, roomy enough for plenty of bits and pieces. Inside it, the maker tucked the mirrors, reflectors, pedals, pump and tool kit, and the bolts for the front brake disc were hiding in the mirror mount bag. I'm warning you up front, I wasted a little time hunting for them. Next, I carefully snip the cable ties so I don't scratch the paint. I don't remove them all at once, which makes it easier later on to avoid accidental scuffs or damage. Would be a shame. Step 1. The handlebar. First I straighten its folding mount. The maker had slid the bar under the crank to keep it safe in transit, so after snipping all the ties, you must gently pull it out while minding the cables. Loosen the clamp and slide the bar into the steerer tube. The front wheel is a bit more involved. The factory strapped the spare axle and the brake disc to the alloy rim. The black axle is transport only. I pull off the guard, sit the disc on the hub and start all the screws lightly by hand. Only when the rotor is seated do I tighten them in a crisscross pattern. If you crank one side down too soon, you'll struggle to start the last bolt squarely. Then I install the silver axle from the kit. Remember, the spacers differ in width. The narrower one goes on the disc side. Only after that come a plain washer, a lock washer, another flat washer, and finally the nut. At this point, I snug the nut with my fingers. No hard cinching yet. I strip the last transit guards around the fork. Flipping the bike upside down is the easiest way to fit the wheel. A helper is nice. The whole thing's heavy. Reuse the shipping foam so you don't scrape the paint or damage the display. I loosen the temporary fork block, pull the plastic pad from the brake caliper, make sure the axle overhangs equally, then slide the wheel home. Fork legs drop just outside the spacer, and the washer's tab slips into its slot. Once both sides lock in, I tighten the axle nuts. I check the wheel spins free and tweak the caliper if needed. Though after a few dozen kilometers, everything will need another look. The bike has to bed in. Saddle. Simple job, just note, it has a quick release that lets it fold 90 degrees for battery removal, so leave the factory height clamp poking out at that odd angle. Pedals are marked L and R with arrows on the cranks. Start them by hand, finish with a wrench. Front mudguard, slide it in from the front, back out the pre-fitted screws and washers. Snug the two lower stays loosely first to make the top mount easier. Order up front is bolt, LED lamp, washer, then through the fork crown go a spacer, another washer, the fender bracket and the nut. you'll want your own longer tools. The supplied wrenches are short. I mount the front basket using 2 bolts that are screwed into the frame. Of course, they need to be removed first. Then, position the basket, catch it with 1 bolt and tighten it lightly. Next, align the basket mount and screw in the second bolt. Once everything is properly positioned, tighten both bolts firmly. Bag, 4 Velcro straps, 2 round the crossbar, 2 down the telescopic tube. Later in the video, I show how I swap the stock thumb switch for a full twist throttle that enables pure electric mode. Note, this violates EU rules and legally turns the bike into a moped. I just like riding with the throttle, so I'll show you how. Whether you copy me is your decision. The old throttle was so tight I fought it for nearly 10 minutes. Fitting the new one is simpler. Loosen its clamp, slide it on, tighten until the stop bites, then plug in the wire, arrow to arrow, impossible to mix up. Reflectors click only into the pre-drilled rim holes, elsewhere they won't fit. As for the mirrors, there's barely room on the narrow bar. Finally, I charge the battery fully, power up the display, and check every function. The rear lamp even has indicators. My first time seeing that, and I love it. The bike itself folds in half. I demo that on camera. All done. The bike is fully assembled. Thank you for watching, and if anything about the assembly is unclear, feel free to ask in the comments and check out my reviews of this and other e-bikes.